Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja. I'm here with the Shucker Queen, Miss Isabella Gator Macbeth in the house, South Carolina's finest. What's going on, Gator? How you feel?
I'm doing fantastic, Gardner. It's great to be back on the show, and a happy Ash Wednesday for everyone that's celebrating Ash Wednesday today.
Yeah, happy Ash Wednesday, right? Happy Ash Wednesday. Are
I
you
guess I didn't know.
okay? All right. Here we are back again. You're the first person to come on the podcast twice. So big shout out to you. Appreciate you taking time.
An amazing honor. Thank you.
Hey, we're gonna send you a certificate in the mail. Don't worry about it. So for my listeners, if you didn't catch the first episode, first of all, go back to that episode. I don't know the number, but just search Oyster Ninja and Gator Isabella. And no, actually that was called the
Was
Oyster
it?
Maiden.
Yeah, Oyster Maiden. Was it the third episode?
I don't know. It was in the beginning.
Yeah,
And
it was
I'm gonna
early.
be honest. I went back and I listened to some of that audio. Of course, content's always great, but the audio, I was like, God dang, how did I put that out like that? But hey, when you know better, you do better. And here we are doing better. And I'm sure in 4 or 5 years, I probably think this was some garbage quality. So that's the name of the game, to keep going and get better at what you do. So,
Absolutely.
so Gator, just catch us up, man, because during the last time we've had a bunch of nationals, we've had COVID, we've had restaurant changes, we've had a lot of stuff, man. So what's going on?
Oh, wow. It's been a lot. Probably, since the last time I was on, I left Rappahannock and I went with Toadfish Oyster Knives and worked for them, traveled the country, helping just with their oyster knife development and sales and get that going. And then we looked at doing catering, but we didn't feel that was the right time. So I went back into the restaurants and been with Nico for 3 years now. So that's been a pretty good partnership. And then, yeah, there's a lot of competitions traveling the country and trying to get as many as possible.
Yeah, and you've been killing it because you was in the top 2 at nationals. You won Virginia, I believe.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
What else? What have you did it? Oh, and did you do what's the one down there in Carolina?
Oh, the Low Country Oyster
Yeah.
Festival. Yeah.
Did you do that one also?
Yeah, I won that 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. I
That's
think that was
crazy.
the 6th win. So
Sheesh. That's what's up, man. I
yeah,
gotta
when
get
I
down
hit
there.
if I hit 10 wins, then I'm gonna start, I don't know, dressing up as Darth Vader or something up on stage.
Right.
So.
I know the year that I went down there, I just finished an event and I came straight down there, which is not straight down there because I couldn't make it because I was tired as on the what. So when I finally got down there, I want to say the shucking competition was over. And I think I had just missed it or something. And I was like, shoot, well, time to get drunk.
Yeah, I think we all had a good we had a few drinks that day.
Yeah,
We all had a good time. So it was
sure.
awesome to see you.
Yeah.
So.
And so just tell me, like, what's going on in the restaurant, Nico? Like, tell me about Nico.
Yeah. So Nico, oddly enough, I had interviewed for this position before I went with Rappahannock, but it was Nico's first place. There are small things we didn't see eye to eye on with the oysters, and then I decided to go with Rappahannock because they had the farms. They're established, such a wonderful company, amazing owners. But since I've come to Nico, those small things like not removing the abductor muscle because he's French, and that's something they're passionate about, so that they know that oyster belongs to that shell and it's as fresh and alive as possible. We kind of got to, I guess I kind of stopped caring myself because, I understand where he's coming from, but we met on so many other levels that it's just been quite amazing. 2020 was a little rough. We started doing a to-go business and I was shucking oysters and delivering them all over town. But after we opened back up, it's been the busiest restaurant probably I've ever worked at. And we're moving a lot of oysters and it's just been a blast. It's a great time.
What's a lot of oysters in a restaurant?
Uh, I mean, Monday night I'll do up to 2,000 oysters in a night.
Dang, that's work.
Yeah,
That's work.
I probably, if I'm there, I'm shucking 90% of the oysters that are getting shucked. And
Mhm.
I've kind of stepped away from doing a lot of the baked oysters because we'll shuck. I mean, Sunday a week ago, I shucked 500 baked.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm trying to get that a little bit off my plate to leave my shoulder and every hand and everything good to go when the guests come in and
Right.
pick a start piling up. So
Are you experiencing any fatigue? Because I know as I get older, I'm starting to feel a little bit more, and I don't understand how my dad and like George Hastings, Big George is still. I don't understand how they're still going strong. Like I'm starting to feel some things.
I'm definitely feeling some things at this point. I definitely have to like plan if I'm going to a contest how much shucking I'm going to do before, and then practicing at nationals. You've been there, there's that airplane hangar, and we all get in with just pop box after pop box. Trying to get in the groove. I'm like very hesitant on how many runs I'll do ahead of time, just because I don't want to feel something click that I've been feeling for a couple of years. Trying to stay as competitive as possible. So
Right.
yeah.
Let's. I don't know if we talked about this the last episode about far as competing on the women's side. This is Women's Month, I believe. I heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Um, so did you get any pushback from that?
Definitely transitioning from the men's competition with you guys over, there was a little pushback, but there are several key players involved that I had the backing from and the love and support that really helped smooth that out. And then I think once a lot of people start realizing that, yes, there's a men's and women's division, but as far as the like national shucking and the shucking world at large, there's not a whole lot that divide uh, women and men as far as championships that they can win and how competitive they can be. Um, so yeah, that helps smooth some people over. But I'd have to shout out to Deborah Pratt for having my back. Lisa Bellamy, who unfortunately passed away back in 2020 and couldn't be at nationals. She had my back. A lot of amazing ladies. Karen at the U.S. Nationals for really helping me there. So yeah, if it wasn't for these women that really just stood up and accepted me, uh, we don't know where I might be today. But uh, yeah, there's definitely some pushback, and I try not to dwell on that as much as I do the people that were there supporting me.
Hmm. It's great to think positive. Um, so while you're on the shucking stand, right? Because you've now been like the women's champ. How many times have you been the women's champ?
Uh, so I've actually only won the U.S. Women's one time.
Okay, got you.
That
Got
was
you.
2021. That's the most recent one.
Got you.
My first year in the women's division, I took third. No, second. I took second. Hold on. I mean, I got the trophies behind me. I have to look at it. I took second, and then I took third. Then I took second again, and then this year I took first, and I met Honor Allen in the final, facing off for the U.S. Championship, which was amazing. I shucked quicker than him, threw my hands up. Had the ladies in the crowd went crazy. They thought
Right.
they saw a lady beat the men, and some lady came up and was like, "I had my Girl Scouts here. We're so excited. It was amazing to see." I was in tears afterwards, but I took a couple penalties. I had a couple oysters slide off the shell, and
Oh
Honor
man,
won. But yeah, it was quite an experience to get that win and then face off against the men for the U.S. Championship.
that's wonderful. So
Yeah,
being on the stage, right? Being on the women's stage, and even that like comment you just made, like I had my Girl Scouts out here cheering for you. What does that mean to represent? Like you represent your true you represent for all the women. How does that make you feel? Not to make, not to get, what's the word? Soft or soppy. I don't want to get emotional, but I want to hear from you. Like, what does that make you feel?
Yeah. So, I mean, outside of, I mean, I definitely get like soppy and tear up when I think about it, but I
It's cool.
kind of
Let's
hold
cry
my.
then. Let's cry. I got tissues. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't get me tempted. I mean, it's a great feeling to be up there on the stage and to know that you're fully accepted, regardless of um, where you come from in life, and that people there have your back. To represent yourself and the greater community at large. It's emotional. It's one reason I really want to eventually win one day and go to the U.S. Nationals, but to be on the women's stage, um, and hopefully break down barriers not just for trans women and even trans men, the LGBT community, but to have little girls look up and say, you know what, there's a lady up there and we can beat the men too. We just have to practice and try hard and get everything we have. I think that's really what I want to, put out there to the world. And even last night at my Raw bar, some lady was, she goes, I was at the recent Low Country Oyster Festival and watched you win. And I come from a shucking house back in Maryland. My family owns one of those facilities where they shuck oysters for the cans and sell them off around the world. She's like, but I was never really good at it. And I was like, you need to come in and train with me and I'll teach you my secrets. And then we'll get you up on that stage and we'll see what you have. And she's like, well, what if I win? I'm like, that'd be amazing. I hope you win.
Right.
But yeah, I just keep trying to get back to community and supporting future women and minorities all over, and just be there for them, because a lot of them came through for me. So
Yeah.
that makes me very emotional.
What advice would you give anyone who's thinking about doing something that might be against the grain,
Uh,
but it's their passion, it's what they want, just general advice, you know what I mean?
I would definitely say don't expect it to be a golden road. It's going to have its bumps along the way, but keeping a positive spirit. I don't want to say have a thick skin, because we all feel,
Yeah.
We all understand pain, and when people don't want you there, you can kind of sense that. But just staying true to yourself and try to find connections. I think what really helped me with the people that were questioning me in the beginning was to just be myself and be like, you like oysters, I like oysters, let's talk about oysters. And then the rest of it kind of washed away. We found other things that we could connect and come together on. So yeah, if you're going against the grain, you're like the black sheep. I'd say just keep being you, be positive, search for those little connections you meet along the way, because those little connections add up over time to just being a world of love and acceptance, and you'll get there. But yeah, I think that's the best thing I could probably say.
So I kind of skipped over something, because we talked about the competitions, we
Hmm.
talked about the restaurants, but you was on freaking TV. You was on Vice.
Yeah, I was on Vice.
I kind of skipped over that. That's where my preparation is slacking. I should have reeled that in. Tell me about Vice. What the heck, man? You're a superstar.
Yeah. So anyways, the Me Too movement all went down, and they were trying to pick different industries around the country, like law, construction, you know, the food and beverage industry, things that I guess were seen as typically more male dominated, and women were in it, coming in and how to, you know, where they would be and what struggles they've had. All a part of the Me Too movement. So they picked Charleston because, I mean, let's all be honest, it's a great culinary capital of the world. Um, and they picked about 5 of us, and somehow they got my name, and they
Okay.
reached out to me, and they said, "Had you had issues?" And so on the phone interviewing for this, I was talking about stories about being a male in the kitchen and what I saw, that women had to go through, whether I was super comfortable with it or not, and then things that happened to me directly. And yeah, so I guess I thought I'd be a great addition to that, and I got to sit across the table from a lot of other amazing women in our industry here. Some of the top bartenders and chefs. One of them actually won a James Beard Award. Um, yeah, so it's really nice to be there. I didn't get as much airtime as I think I thought I would,
Mm-hmm.
but I think, I don't know, maybe I was staying a little too positive throughout the whole thing and trying to find ways that we could come together,
Right.
instead of just going into the nitty gritty about, our stories that we've been through.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was a fun experience. I definitely learned a lot, and it was cool seeing my face up on the TV around the world, essentially, and people messaging me from, I know specifically from San Francisco to say, "Hey, we saw you on the thing." So that was cool.
That's gonna be a good feeling. You're
Yeah,
probably
that
still
was
opening
nice.
up DMs from that
Yeah, occasion,
one.
it pops up on occasion, not as much as it did in the beginning.
That's cool.
So
So because you kept it so positive on Vice, right? What's
yeah,
give me like, all right, you don't have to, but I'm gonna ask, could you give me one thing, if you could change one thing, or maybe even something you said, maybe you were holding back, maybe you wanted to say but didn't say. I can scratch
I
that.
really don't want to talk about people slapping my ass and calling me names.
Okay. All right, there we go. We don't want to talk about that. All right, I'll make sure I take that out for sure. No problem.
It's fine. So you
Um,
could even slap that little bit in.
okay, all right.
Quotations. Bella wouldn't answer about men slapping her ass and calling her name.
So we talked about Shucking. We talked about the restaurants. We talked about the competition. We even talked about Vice, which I forgot about.
Mhm.
Another recap. We had the whole rugby thing going on because you're a professional rugby player. You're an all-star. You was in the Olympics. No,
I wish I made the Olympics.
so what was going on with the rugby? It was a big thing going on, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I made the transition in the competitive shucking world from male to female. And rugby, it's a sport played, all over the world. It's pretty big here in the US too, but you won't see it on TV too often, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, I started playing a little bit in college. I was kind of lost trying to find like a family type thing, you know. Family is not always blood, essentially, so I was trying to find that community, and Shucking definitely 100% huge community. Love the support, but it's a little bit more spread out. You're up in DC. I'm down here in Charleston. That's 8 hours. We don't see each other all the time. We do talk on occasion, but I needed that more localized, constant support. And I was at a Pride event and just joking with my friend who played on the men's team. I said, "Hey, dude, uh, you know, what team would I play for?" And he told me I was an idiot, grabbed my ear, took me over to ladies. They instantly accepted me. I had no problems. I think I only ever heard of three maybe players in a couple of states that might have been against me competing. Like overall, it was a vast majority were okay with us being there. And then right when I'm going out for all-star teams and regional select teams and all, and playing a bunch of rugby and just trying to get back to that community as well. The World Rugby, which is the governing body of all the federations, USA Rugby, Canada Rugby, they decided to ban transgender athletes.
Oh,
But it was but it was mainly approached at trans women, which I thought was kind of sexist in itself, because they're just saying, trans women like myself are a danger and an unfair advantage competing in women's sports, but trans men competing in men's sports wouldn't at all, because they still technically saw them as women, and how can women beat men?
right.
So there, it was wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was doing some work with International Gay Rugby, and a bunch of athletes from Sydney, Canada, all across Europe. trying to look at this and say, hey, it's got to be almost a more sport by sport basis, a more player by player basis, as far as these bans and maybe different levels. Like it can't just be a broad spectrum approach. There's so many different layers to look at this, and it's going to take time and more research to go through. So yeah, we're doing a lot of big fights on that. And I got in the New York Times. I was in an article for that. And then I did a podcast in England about it for trans youth, and trying to, help motivate them and keep them positive and moving forward. And then I was in a LGBT, the largest in Australia, based out of Sydney. I was in they did an article on me. So yeah, I'm just trying to fight for equality wherever I see the need, to help give back to communities that have given me a lot. But yeah, well, that was the biggest hit for me of all that. It was right in the thick of 2020, like not long after we had shut down, it seemed like, and we're all just trying to deal with the world pandemic. And then there are government bodies saying you don't belong, and you're just like, what?
Right.
What is happening? So yeah, I think that was the biggest shock for me of the whole thing.
So where is it at now?
World Rugby gave out their recommendation that with the ban, the broad ban, and then the International Olympic Committee kind of stood by their previous stance that they created in the early 2000s for trans athletes. That meant so many years after transitioning, hormone surgeries, hormone levels would be in a certain range, and they allow it. And then also, like, if your government accepts you legally on their forms, like your passport, as the one sex or the other. But USA Rugby came out against it. Canada Rugby shot it down immediately. So a lot of different governing bodies, like countries, started coming out, kind of like what we're seeing with Ukraine right now, talking about something this moment. Like you saw a lot of countries come out against Russia first, and then the larger world bodies started being collective. This was kind of backwards, where the world governing body was against it, and then all the countries were like, no, we're not going to agree with this. Yeah, so there's still some fights going on with it all, and it's going to take some time, but yeah, we're kind of in the thick of it, I guess, still.
Into the thick of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So what's next? I know you told me off camera you got the website popping. So
yeah,
what do we got to look forward to?
Yeah, so I've kind of tried to, Gator, like you learned in the first podcast, was something I picked up from the Army, and it was a nickname I used kind of when I wasn't comfortable with fully going as Isabella yet, or or using my old name, but then to kind of I started kind of branding myself more as the Holy City Oyster Maven. So that was me. And then I started, a lot of people on here probably follow on their Instagram or something, but Shuckable or Shucktown USA. It's a great kind of store, with some fun little swag on internet. Well, anyways, the owner of that I know, because we did a lot of work with Shuck Cancer and the American Cancer Society together. And I was like, dude, I need help. How do I bring everything I'm doing together cohesively? And he thought it'd be better to do like a brand as far as like apparel and all, to start bringing that together. So I got shuckgirl.com. It's going to come out. I'm going to have a bunch of cool apparel and gear, and then a place for me to put up a bunch of my partnerships. There'll be a partnership page, link to press and things, like a link to this podcast hopefully on there and everything. So something to start building. So I'll always be Holy City Oyster Maven, or Gator to my close friends. Like Honor still calls me that. It always makes me feel like he really knows me from back in the day. But yeah, Shuck Girl is going to be my website. And I'm hoping that'll be up in 2 weeks. And thanks to the gang at Indigo Inc. and Shuckable for coming along and helping me get this going. So yeah, that's the next big step for me, is to get that established and then see what else I can grow from there.
That's awesome. I didn't even know I was talking to a millionaire. You're about to kill it. You're about to kill it. I mean, you're
That
already
would be
killing it, but you're about to
nice.
kill it. You're really about to kill it. That's great.
Yeah, that'd be so cool if I was a millionaire.
So
I'd have my own farm and have someone else farm the oysters for me so I could just eat them.
man, that's I never thought that was a goal for me, but that's kind of a goal to me now. Like I kind of want some Oyster Ninja stuff going around here. But
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation for another time.
No, I think we all want to see the Oyster Ninja website up there. And you already got some cool apparel to shuck racism. That was brilliant. I love that.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
That was awesome, dude.
So what's next? Like you got any specials going on at the Raw Bar or anything?
So for the last almost 2 years, I guess, I've been every Tuesday coming up with a new special at the Raw Bar. Kind of like, us Raw Bars are always doing these big towers that are super impressive and hit the table. But I've been trying to think outside the box and present one at a much more affordable cost of $40 every week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I've taken that opportunity to do things like make oyster ice cream. And then I made a little chocolate they're like a hard chocolate on the outside with the smooth chocolate on the inside, like a Hershey's bar, but it was oysters.
Come on, chef. Come on, chef.
I worked the oysters into the chocolate. So when you get that sea salt with your chocolate, sometimes that was the brine being transferred over from the oyster. So it gave me a lot of time to play. But Nico and I are going to kind of change things off and a little bit, take a break from that, try a different special out. So I'll probably still keep tinkering on some stuff. And release things here and there, but it wouldn't be on a weekly basis anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know last time we talked, I think we talked about your education portion of it, like maybe like class or something. Did you do anything with that?
I'm doing about a class a week now.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
That's great.
They can book it through the Nico website. They come in, it's 2 hours. The first hour, I go over kind of Nico and my vision of the Raw Bar, how that was established. Give them a lot of my own personal insight into oysters, but teach them like everything from creating the seed in a nursery or hatchery all the way out to the final product and the difference between wild and farmed. So we have, there's a lot of information, and sometimes it's some pretty good questions. Other times it's kind of people, glazed over, and we get through that portion pretty quickly. Right. But then the next hour, the second hour, is always dedicated to just specifically opening oysters. This is how you open them. We're going to try 12 different oysters from different parts of the country, and you're going to taste the flavors. And I start with the first flavor profile and how it got that and my feeling on it. And then I do ask their opinion the next couple. Hey, what are you getting from this oyster? Hey, what are you getting from this oyster?
Right.
And then a little bit in, I'm like, so with this oyster, these are the flavors I'm getting. See if you see them, and I just keep working with them. So yeah, it's been fun. It's anything from 6 to, I've done 12 people at a time. The most recent one was 7 this past Saturday. So that's cool. Oyster classes have been a lot of fun.
That's what's up. So, that's great. All right, so we're gonna stay tuned for the website dropping in a couple weeks, and of course we're gonna be following you. Go ahead and give your handles out and everything.
Holy City Oyster Mavens, an easy one to just click on Instagram there, Isabella Macbeth, if you can't find it. And then shortly we'll see shuckgirl.com coming out for all my crazy apparel, and all coming your way. So
nice. All right, well, I appreciate you for taking time out and coming on the podcast again, talking to the Oyster Ninja and all his listeners, all 3 or 4 of them. Just joking, guys. Just joking, JK.
It's probably a dozen live feeding right now.
Right. But yeah, and yeah, expecting nothing but the best from you.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Gardner. And
sure.
it's quite a great honor to be back for a second time. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, you'll get your certificate in the mail.
Thanks.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. See ya.